What up? What's up, Brandon? How you doing?
Good. How are you, man?
Good. Hey guys, it's the 4 Star Chicago Sports Podcast. This is another edition of the bare minimum. We do it Thursday night. We do it late. We usually have one viewer with us that keeps us occupied in the chat.
You could be that
So
lucky
I see
individual.
one there. I see one person there. Please keep it coming in the chat. Our one viewer for the night. We like to stay up late, bear down, talk about this upcoming matchup here on Sunday. Oh shit, we got two. Talk about this upcoming matchup on Sunday with the Rams here in Chicago. Talk about some other NFL stuff too. We're going to kind of review tonight's game, the Thursday night football game between the Cowboys and the Giants. I thought it was an interesting game. I always like watching the NFC East, like just the feel I get from it. Those are usually some pretty well-established teams in the NFL. They're usually good games no matter what someone's record is. So always like that. Brandon, what you got on your mind tonight, man, before we start off? How's everything going for you?
Oh, it's all right, man. All right, late. It's Bruce.
Bruce is up with us.
Sorry about that, man.
Oh. The dogs. It is what it is, bro. Try to tell them to shut up a little bit, see if they listen. Yeah. Michael's in with us. What up, guys? How we doing? Thanks for joining us. We got Bruce, we got Michael, and we got Brandon's dogs. We got a pretty solid audience tonight. Listen, man, that game tonight, Cowboys 20, Giants 15. What'd you think, man? What stood out to you in that game, and what stood out to you about the result? That's kind of what we expected, right? Cowboys to win that game.
Yeah, I did, and I don't know. I never honestly felt like the Giants were going to win it. Like I said last week, man, I think the NFL is starting to kind of level out, getting a little bit closer to normalcy. Anyone would have projected the Cowboys win that game before the season started, but the Giants hung in there, man. I think the thing that stuck out with me the most is just injuries, man. I mean, just player after player after those 10.
You saw Parsons getting carted off. You saw neighbors walking off the field right at the same time. That was so disheartening, man.
They're
two great players.
The medical tents were like the clown car. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like you had to make a reservation for the medical tents. Oh, hey, we got Judah Tribe and put in Bajan. What up, Judah?
What's going on, man? Yeah, so it was a good game though, man. I mean, I like how they do the divisional games on Thursday night.
Yeah, no, it's fun to watch the divisional games, and I thought the Giants put up a better fight than what was expected. I mean, they had a chance to win that game at the end. I don't know about
huh? Go ahead, sorry, man.
No, it's cool. I don't know about normalcy when it comes to the NFL, man. I mean, it's crazy all the way through. Judah says that game was horrible. I like watching.
I like watching. Say, man, when you were gonna say, I was gonna say, I hate watching the NFC East.
Why? I just think of Jason Witten running with his helmet off. I think of I just think of all these guys. I mean, even Eli Manning, watching him play was always fun. As much as I didn't like him, it's a scrappy division. They're always tight games. This was a tight game tonight. I mean,
it's just where all the attention always is, man, in New York or in Dallas. You know what I mean? You get so tired of hearing about those guys outside of actually having them on your television. It's like,
so
Jerry Jones annoys me. Yeah. No, but like you said, man, Malik Neighbors,
let me talk about Malik Neighbors, because if he's hurt for any period of time, first of all, it's a huge blow to most of my fantasy teams because I got all the Malik Neighbors stock. So hopefully he's back.
I got him as well, yeah.
But like if he's hurt, that's a blow for the NFL, man. This guy is matchup proof so far. He's finding ways to get open no matter what. He's making great, contested catches. He's great after the catch. He's just a lot of fun to watch, man. And the thing that's super fun and impressive about him is that everyone knows who's getting the ball, and he still keeps getting the ball. Daniel Jones has one legitimate target on that team, and it's Malik Neighbors. So I really hope he's healthy and he can continue to play. it was probably not ideal for them to have him out on that last drive of the game with a chance trying to throw a deep ball to get into position to score there.
Well, and Jones on the 3rd down and 6 on the last drive, Jones threw a pass into Robinson's lap, man. He dropped the ball, so it's good to see after, Daniel Jones, after all the criticism, the injury, following a big contract. It looks like he was better than I anticipated him to be returning this year. But yeah, Neighbors is different, man. I could, me and you said this, Dustin, before the season started. He could be a better player than Marvin Harrison when it's all said and done, man.
I think he is. I thought he was going into the draft.
Marvin Harrison is no disrespect. The guy, he's going to get you 100 yards and maybe 2 TDs, but he beats you. It's more like system related. He's on it. He's a route. Malik, it's like, just get this guy the ball. That's all that really matters. Just give him the ball. If he's got a rush,
yeah, he's like a Tyreek Hill kind of player, man. He really is. And that was a crazy comparison coming out of the draft, but you can see it in his first few games here in the NFL that he tilts the field.
And that team, after allowing Barkley to leave, desperately needed something like that.
Michael doesn't think Neighbors misses time. And Michael also chimed in and said Neighbors is on pace for most targets ever in a season. I mean, that's just crazy impressive.
Well, you knew that. I mean, like, this team.
Well, you didn't expect Neighbors to pace the league in targets, and set a record for that. I don't know about that type of expectation, but they do need to get him the ball. And as Judah Drive pointed out, he is their offense. Now that, since, as you referenced, the whole debacle with Saquon Barkley, that, Joe Shane really just dropped the ball on that, and it might cost him his job.
And this team was still looking at J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix, Bo Nix. I mean, these guys opted to stick with Daniel Jones and gave him a piece like that. But what Michael says, he's going to blow out the numbers of targets, doesn't shock me. They didn't do much else on that offense. They just let a running back go.
Yeah, and they replaced him with Devin Singletary, another guy who I had some stock in fantasy draft wise this year, because he's going to get touches. But tonight the Cowboys really shut down the run. That was one thing that stood out big time. Like you had said, man, they were really struggling defensively, the Cowboys, in their last couple games to get stops, to stop the running game. They at least made improvements there tonight, and they go to 2-2. Giants go to 1-3. I'm not sure how the season is going to end for the Giants. It's probably not going to end well. Maybe they'll pull out 6 wins. I don't know if skinny Brian Dable is the answer for the Giants, and I don't know that Jim Carrey-looking Daniel Jones is the answer at quarterback. It's going to be a tough season for them.
He always looks startled, man.
Daniel Jones?
Yeah.
He looks like the rubber man, like from the Jim Carrey thing. I mean, he looks strange. He doesn't, like you said, he's performing better probably than people expected going into this season from last season, but also he's made some big mistakes already early in the season. So
the thing that I don't see that's just going to destroy him, like that guy's only ability to be a better player was he could actually run the ball a little bit, man. And he's not doing that this year, and I don't see Daniel Jones succeeding if that's removed from his arsenal.
Yeah, I don't know that. You never want to write a player off. You see players all the time that, quarterbacks especially, if they end up in a new system or they end up in a new situation, they find ways to become successful. So you never want to write just with that contract that they gave Daniel Jones in that city with the level of performance that he's had so far. I mean, it's not great, but also at the same time, like you said, you let Barkley go, you put your franchise hopes on Daniel Jones, and you give him as receivers. If Neighbors is out, you got Wendell Robinson and Darius Slayton. Like, there's just not much there.
I guess you have been there before and not done much.
I really love the Giants' defensive line, though. I really do. I mean, between Lawrence, Burns, Thibodeau, I mean, that's an impressive defensive line. They should stay in games just based on being able to put pressure on the quarterback with just rushing forward because Dexter Lawrence is unstoppable,
Yeah.
and you add Burns to that mix with Thibodeau, who's finally starting to kind of step out. Like that's something that they can they can hang their hat on, hopefully defensively for the season.
Yeah, when the Bears made that big package deal for the 2 first rounders, the 2 second rounders, and DJ Moore, when I was reading rumors about this first overall pick, like had they not been comfortable with taking Caleb Williams and stuck with Fields, the Hall trade was everyone I read was to the Giants, and it all included Dexter Lawrence, and that's the one thing because I wanted Caleb, but that was the one thing I was like, "You're
Yeah,
getting
that
another,
makes me think a little bit.
you're getting another DJ Moore player, man, for
Dude, I
sure."
saw there was a play a couple weeks ago where Dexter Lawrence, the big ass, chases down a wide receiver down the sideline. Like
Yeah,
how that's just crazy. The
yeah,
physical ability that
I
guy.
think I posted that, man,
Yeah,
on our 4 stars page. Yeah, no, and it said like, look at that. And the title was like, "Effort from a D lineman." Yeah, that guy can move, man. I mean,
yeah.
he's not unathletic by any means, shape, or form. That guy's a monster, dude. I think he's a top 5 tackle in the NFL for sure.
Oh, we're going on. We're going here already. Judah Tribe has a question. I'd be remiss if I didn't include the chat since we got guys actually jumping in here tonight, on our midnight show. Seriously, why did you want Caleb? That's just so much to unpack in a question this early on in the show and this late at night. But like, and I don't know, and I'll tell you this, Judah, we can answer the question, but it's not going to be good enough for you. You're not going to like it, and you're not going to agree with it. He says, I mean, what about you? Yeah, I mean, Caleb shows things in terms of his ability to throw from any platform, his ability to throw in improv situations, the deep ball with the placement. I mean, it's just those things are intriguing. You see a guy who kind of reminds you of Patrick Mahomes and how he throws the ball and his style and you know there was the questions about his size, and then those kind of got put away. I mean, he's a little under your average size for a quarterback, but guys have succeeded with less in the NFL. And then there's questions about his I don't know what you would call it. I mean, he paints his fingernails. So what? I don't care. I mean, the guy can throw a damn football. He can spin it. And you saw him in Oklahoma come in. I mean, the first game that we were exposed to Caleb Williams, he comes out and beats Texas in that game.
In a game they were down
They were
heavily
down
by
huge
like
when he
3
came in that
touchdowns.
game when he replaced Spencer Rattler, man. Like the guy the guy has shown me throughout his college career that he's down to compete, that he'll hang in there and make a throw, that he'll
He's
find ways to what's that?
he's resilient, man.
Resilient for sure. And then he even in games like the one you're mentioning now, Judah Tribe against Notre Dame, where things were going badly for him, he kept going out there. He kept trying to make the play against. I mean, his offense was just.
Oh, that
It was.
his interior offensive line was a little bit like a team we know now.
Yeah, yeah. It was, and,
It
and,
was
and we're
bad there.
seeing some of the results of that, so far in this season. With I'll tell you, man, like from that last game, I was out here just kind of blasting the Bears, bro. I was on our Monday show on the House Hall Hangover, blasting the Bears, blasting this coaching staff. One thing that I feel good about right now with the Bears is Caleb Williams, because they dropped this man back 60 times and had him throw 52 times, and he's still standing. He threw 2 touchdowns. He also threw 2 picks, but like he's not being put in a position to succeed in my mind. And that's important to me. That's important to me when I watch him perform. Like you look at Jaden Daniels, they're making it really easy on him in that offense. Cliff Kingsbury is making it really easy on him in that offense, making it really hard on Caleb, and he's staying out here and he keeps slinging it, man, and he's not going to stop slinging it, and he's only going to get better as these games go on, Brandon. I don't know. Like I said, it's so much to unpack, Brandon. What do you think about that question from Judah?
Well, I think Judah kind of likes to play around a little bit, unless he actually. I mean, Judah, I'll take you for your word. If you believe Bajan's a better option than Caleb Williams, then we're just watching 2 different players, man. I mean, I like Bajan. He's also a little resilient. He's a hard worker, but he doesn't have anywhere near the tools that Caleb Williams has. Caleb Williams can make throws that most quarterbacks, not just current quarterbacks, quarterbacks that have ever been drafted just can't do. And you listen to almost every former quarterback. You know, it's funny, man. The more recent guys were like, I'd stick with Fields if I'm the Bears, but like the legends, like the John Elways, Tom Brady, or all these guys that were asked about Caleb were like, yeah, you go take that kid, like you go get that player, so they can identify the talent, and those are some of the greatest in the game. But I also just think, man, for anybody to think anything about it, this is what's funny to me, man. It was like, and I don't think Tribe was a big fan of Fields either, but I posted on Facebook and it's got like 200 likes in like 2 days. It's like Justin Fields after 3 years. Justin Fields never got a fair shot in Chicago. Caleb Williams after 3 games. This guy's a bust. Bench him. I've never seen such a turnaround. Like the amount of patience that we had for one
Nah,
guy.
man, we you knew that was coming with the way he came into this. Like the people who wanted Fields to stay, it's just like the Jordan LeBron comparison. You got to bring one down to build another one up in these people's minds. Like,
Well, I feel like
so you had to knock Caleb to build up the resume for Justin, and as soon as this starts to go bad, Justin's in a great situation in Pittsburgh, man. He really is. Mike Tomlin's a great head coach, but as soon as this was going to go bad, we knew this was coming,
yeah,
Brandon.
but man,
I knew this was
it's
coming.
so strange. Like the Chicago fan base, or at least the guys who loved Fields, and I understand if you liked Fields and you want him to be the quarterback. I'm not saying that if he stuck around with the weapons they have now, he wouldn't be able to win games. But I don't think he's the same, especially as a passer, the same player that Caleb is, or anywhere near it. But
Well, he would have been dead after this game against Indianapolis, dropping back 60 times. There's
no,
no
he would
way.
have ran the ball a lot. But the thing
Yeah,
about
that's what I mean. He would have been
think
hit a
about
lot.
think about just like still today, it doesn't look very like Merrill Hogue said, or not Merrill.
It's Hodge.
Adam. Is it Adam Hodge? Is
Merrill
that his name?
Hodge, Adam Hogue. Which one
Adam
are you talking
Hogue said
about?
from CHGO. I think that's his name, man. I don't
Yeah,
watch
yeah,
them
that's
too
him.
much,
Yes, yes, yes.
but he said like this offense on Pittsburgh is ranked like 28th in the league. They average like 16.5 points a game. Justin's the exact same player in a better system, and their Steelers coaches are smart enough to put him in a position to succeed. Whereas Caleb is not being put in a position to succeed, but he's kind of showing success regardless. So like
Judah, he was sacked 4 times in that game. And
so
it's clearly the line. If you if you watch, it's not just the line; it's the play calling too.
but what I was going to say, man, is the Chicago fan base. Like I love Derrick Rose, man. When we lost Derrick Rose, it sucked. But I'll tell you this: like as soon as Derrick Rose was gone, like and, the knee injuries obviously kind of jaded my opinion. But like once he was gone, whatever team he played for, that's what team he played for. Whoever the point guard on the Bulls was, that's who I was rooting for next, man. And I've never seen a fan base so like it's like
I
a
still rooted for Rose wherever he
it's like
went.
no, I mean I did, but like I didn't root for that team. But
No, hell no, no.
it's like a teenage girl who was just broken up with. Like that's what Justin Fields feels like. Like we're almost embarrassing this fan base. Like just move on, man. I mean, just get over it and accept. And here's what I understand. This is the thing I understand. At least we talked about this on the show, Dustin. If you liked Fields, you don't have to root against Caleb because he's currently your quarterback. It just doesn't make sense, man.
That's what I was saying with the LeBron Jordan thing. I mean, it's a stretch of a comparison, but like today's day and age is like, and just like with the MVP conversation in the NBA, like you got to knock one guy down to build up the case for the other guy. Both guys they have their good qualities and they have their negative qualities. Let's just compare their resumes. And
And
right now
unfortunately,
Caleb doesn't have a resume to compare to Justin
no,
Fields, but
no,
that's
it's
going to
way too
happen,
early.
man. It's just going to keep happening.
No,
We
that's
can
what I was
keep
gonna
saying
say.
let's not talk about it.
Unfortunately, man, if Justin in 3 weeks from now is 6-0 and Caleb's 4-2, we'll still hear about how bad Caleb is and how good Justin is. Like that's just how this fan base is gonna be. But yeah, Caleb
I
Williams is a
wanted
great
I
guy.
wanted a real quarterback on the Chicago Bears. I guess that's what it boils down to. I saw one in Caleb Williams. I still see one, and we're gonna see how this plays out. We got to give him some time. We got to give him some protection. We got to give some time in the pocket, some time to progress his career. Like there's a lot of things that are gonna go into this, so we got to keep a level head in terms of what our expectations are and what we think we'll see this Sunday, the following Sunday, and we really got to look at it in terms of, is Caleb progressing week to week?
Yeah, and
And not making that bad throw where he's got DeAndre Swift in the flat and he throws it into double coverage to Rome. Like that's the way we got to approach it.
In reality, I'm going to call you out, Judah Tribe, because you can sit here all day in the chat and say it's not the truth, but simply it is. Like, if Caleb goes off and wins football games for the Chicago Bears, let's say he beats the Packers the first time he plays them, deep down inside you, you're going to love this kid. And whether or not you want to say that in the chat, you're going to appreciate the fact that the guy's winning football games on the Chicago Bears, because we've never had a quarterback who won football games. We had a quarterback who aided a team in winning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, we can go back and forth with Jude all day. He says he was so inaccurate with those passes, like the one he threw to Rome, man. Like it did. Rome had it in his hands. Now there was two defenders around him. It was a bad decision. The throw was in the best possible place it could have been to be completed, in my mind. But I mean, yeah, I'm pissed we couldn't beat the Colts too, Judah. If you go back and watch our Monday show, the Hallis Hall Hangover, man, I know you're subscribed, obviously. I hope you better be subscribed. You're in our chat hanging out with us. But go watch our Hollis Hall Hangover, man. I called out this team in a lot of ways, man. I'm not happy with the performance so far with this Bears team, and we're going to get into that and, what we expect this Sunday, right? But, I mean, in terms of Caleb and any rookie quarterback, Judah, you got to give him time. You have to. We gave Justin time. We gave Mitch time. We're in the same position again. We're hoping it's going to turn out different. I think it will. And like Brandon said, when Caleb does go off and say he does get that win against the Packers, what are you going to say then? I mean, what do you have to say then?
Certainly couldn't do that. That just wasn't a thing. So, like, but while we're on the subject of coaches, man, you want to kind of segue into some things the Bears have. I like to we like to talk on the show, guys, about things we've heard the Bears say throughout the week, not just injury reports, not just, like roster changes, but things that players have said or coaches have said. And the Mercedes Lewis comment about telling the coaches they can be a little more stern and coach guys directly and even call people out in front of a room. Mercedes Lewis verbatim said, you can even call out the oldest player on the team. Now, I'd imagine he said that because he knows that's him. So, like, he's telling these coaches from rookie to veteran, from young to old, from playmaker to bench warmer, if somebody's not doing the job, call them out. And that concerns me, that a player is telling a coach that. What's your take on that, Dustin?
Well, my take on it is, these days you got all these athletes doing these podcasts, man, and you're going to get more information like this, and you're going to be, you got Micah Parsons who does his thing. Point, man. Yeah, I mean, Draymond Green in the NBA, you get kind of a take that we've never gotten before, like an insight that we've never gotten before as fans. And it's something you got to read in between the lines, because players got to be careful with what they say, who they say it about, and how they say it. And Mercedes Lewis was trying to be real diplomatic on that show with Cap today. But Cap did a good job asking him questions and keeping them, honest to an extent. And bro, like I said, I this coaching staff, I have no faith right now. I have no faith, and I don't know that that's going to change.
In regards to you, like what you just said, it's a good point, because today I read some from Justin Fields. I think he was asked yesterday, is there a difference between the way the organization is ran and coached in Pittsburgh? And he said,
of course there is.
He said, oh, by a lot.
Yeah, bro. I mean, Mike Tomlin to me is the best coach in football, and he has his hands on every aspect of that organization in terms of its players and how they develop. And right now, Matt Eberflus, in my mind, is the worst coach in football, and he has his hands on everything to the extent that he can, and I don't like the results I'm seeing. And Mercedes Lewis talking about that kind of says to you, if it's being talked about at all, it's because Cap asked the question, because he has concerns about it, because fans have concerns about it. And the fact that was his answer kind of tells you, like, there's some accountability issues in this building.
Well, yeah, because hold on, because there's a segue there. Like, so Caleb Williams did a press interview. I believe it was this morning. It might have been yesterday. I think it was this morning. And he was asked, what did we really hone in on, like in the in the film room, what did we talk about the most? And basically he said communication, and they were like, how do you mean? Like, you need to speak, like talk more to your players? And he said, well, of course you always need to talk more to your players. But he said, I need to do a better job of going to the sideline and telling the coaches what coverage they're playing, what scheme they're in, like if they're playing zone or because I need to voice to my coach what I'm comfortable with, and because I think it's working. So I'm also thinking to myself, why the hell would Caleb tell a coach that? That's like,
Can the coach not see
that's,
that?
well, that's exactly what a coach
It's
should be
supposed
like.
to see.
Hey
That's
man,
their
this is
job.
working. Are you feeling comfortable doing this? Yeah. Okay, we're gonna run a little more of this. We're gonna actually, this hasn't gone well. We're gonna take this completely out of the game plan. You know what I mean? Like, this is the stuff that I want a coach to be saying to a player, man. So yeah, there's some concerns more than what we see on the field, but what I'm hearing just sounds like a whole bunch of non-accountability, man. Like, I don't.
I mean, you take it back to the Tevin Jenkins comment. We execute what's called. Mercedes Lewis said something very similar today in terms of that speed option on that fourth and
Ryan Poles
inches.
did come out and say, though, they said, what's the biggest issue with this offensive line? He said execution. He did not say play call. He said execution is the biggest problem. So that's coming from the top. But man, yeah,
Well,
it's
Mercedes Lewis said the same thing. Like play calling is above his pay grade. He said,
yeah,
we're supposed to. Let me finish this because this is important. Because he said we're supposed to execute what the play caller gives us. That's our job. But he also said, but I think in hindsight, looking back on it, maybe we should have just handed it to the running back and got him into the damn A gaps and just got a push in there and got a touchdown. He also said that too. So that shows you that there's maybe a different mindset with these players versus the
that's
coaches
what
in
I was
terms of
just gonna
what's
say, man.
coming, what's
It's
what's
not
coming down the pipe.
what I was just gonna say is a double-edged sword, because as bad as it is to hear these things, like your coaches aren't really coaching, how encouraging is it to hear that, like, the Bears as an entirety of as the roster as in its entirety are going to people like, we're gonna help you out here. If like, it's like, if I'm on the field and I know it's working and you're calling something like that on the 4th and goal, I'll tell you no. Like, it sounds to me like that's what the Bears are going to say to them. DJ Moore said it too, man. I have to voice to my coaches what kind of coverage I think they're playing and what I think we're doing well. I mean, that sounds to me like the players are basically going to go to the sideline and tell the coaches, we're running more of this. This is working.
Well,
We're running more of
I
this.
mean,
Like,
it's a combination of both. I mean,
yeah, and it
the
happens
players
on
should
every
have a
team and
say,
every
right?
game. Yeah,
Yeah,
every team and
if
every,
you're doing it well, then your players are giving that information to the coaches. The coaches are
yeah.
taking that information and giving different information based on that information back to the players in terms of how we're going to be successful with our game plan in this game and how we're going to be successful in adjusting that game plan. You might, practice all week for one thing and then come into that game and it changes and you got to go a different way. And I mean, Judah asked what my problem is with this coaching staff. I mean, did you watch on Sunday, Judah?
It's dysfunctional at best.
Exactly when you're here, I mean, exhibit A, B, C through fucking G. When you're driving down the field to score a touchdown, when you're in a game that you're behind in, and a 2-point conversion after that touchdown makes it a 3-point game, and an extra point makes it a 4-point game, you score the touchdown, and your coaching staff is not on the same page about what they're doing, whether they're going for the extra point or the 2-point conversion, and your players don't have that information, that's coaching.
Or
That is
calling a
bad
timeout,
coaching.
or calling a timeout immediately before a 2-minute warning. I mean, there's a lot. There's been a lot of, like, Flus is coaching like a rookie right now. He called a challenge last week, Judah, on
Those
a play
challenges are awful.
on a
They're awful.
play he was closest to. There was nobody on the field closer to that catch
2
than
weeks
him.
ago against the Texans, yes.
Yeah.
Last week there wasn't really a
I know,
challenge.
yeah, 2 weeks ago. But
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of signs. It's being mismanaged. The clock's being mismanaged, the timeouts, the challenges, the play, the pivotal, the situational. This is a big thing Flus doesn't really know that well, is situational football. That's when you should oversee your offense on a 4th and inches. That's when you do go over to your offensive coordinator and say, like, yeah, listen, I don't call the plays, but ram that damn ball up their throat, bro. Like, that's like,
Yeah. I
head
mean, if the
coach.
players are chomping at the bit to just out physical the team across from them and they're not being given the plays to do that, then that will create a problem. That'll create some tension for sure. Like but it's on the players as well to open up some holes when they're running the football, to get some push at the line of scrimmage to run the football. Like, so the players got to hold up their end, the coaches got to hold up their end, and everybody's got to get in sync here. Because right now, whether Judah, whether it's the coaching, whether it's the players, and their execution is not good, and
Yeah,
they're
man.
not on the same page.
And we
That's
just
clear.
and we just talked, Judah, about something that's kind of pivotal. Like hearing players say we got to do a better job at telling coaches things should concern you a little bit. But I also want to mention this. We have conflicting reports coming from the same coordinator today. And like I heard one that read, what did he say? What was his words he used for Roshan Johnson? We're gonna get a closer look or something at Roshan Johnson.
Yeah, but
And then when asked why Herbert ran at the goal line on the Wildcat, he said, Herbert is and will be our short down back,
yeah,
our goal
yeah.
line back. So it's like, shouldn't Roshan play that role? And if you're going to get a better look at him, shouldn't it be on like runs like those? I mean,
Well, I mean,
I'm not. Listen, I'm not. If I don't know what Waldron's game, I'm not scheming up Roshan trying to get to the edge. That's not like I don't see that when you have two players on the roster that can do that better. I don't want to see any of that, man. I don't want to see any of that gun run with Roshan. So you know what I mean?
yeah, no, I mean, you need some in those situations at the goal line. You need some I formation. You need a big
Yeah.
set. You need to
Put him
just
behind
out
Caleb.
physical the
Put
team in
Caleb
front
under
of you.
center. Yeah, Caleb can be under center a little bit, man. They don't have. It's not like you have to avoid this at every cost. He's not an idiot. But and the clean and you know what? The one thing you can say about the center this year that we couldn't last year, as bad as he's been in protection, is the guy snaps the ball cleanly. So put Caleb under center, right? Like
That's
we didn't
important.
have we didn't have that luxury last year, man. I don't know. So Dustin, what do you like? What do you think? So do you think that's them saying Roshan Johnson will just be given more opportunity, but Herbert's still going to play the same role he played in the Colts game? Is that what you're thinking?
I think I was expecting Herbert to be the goal line back going into this last week. I bet him on an anytime touchdown, and he should have freaking had one if they didn't. That Wildcat play was just stupid too, man. Like I mentioned that before too. So I don't want to. It was just you give the defense. You're showing the defense everything that you're doing, before you do it. So obviously they're going to be there to stop that. But yeah, I think Herbert is going to continue to be the goal line back. I mean, I think that they like him in that role. But Roshan is going to get, upwards of 12 carries, I would imagine, in this game. What do you have? 8 this past week? 8 for 30, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean,
And I
like
and I will say this, guys. Khalil
12 to
Herbert
15
has
carries is something he's going to have, and it might phase out Swift in some ways, man. And the Bears are looking for answers, so that makes sense.
Khalil Herbert has gotten in the end zone, guys, too, on a goal line carry. So it's not
No,
like
yeah. I mean,
he's got zero
he did
success.
against the yeah, he did. So I mean, like he does well at finding the holes in those situations usually, but again, it's about the scheme and how you're planning on lining up. And if you put him in Wildcat, he's going to have problems. The defense knows what you're doing, and
And your
I
line's
agree,
not
Judah
your
Swift.
lines. If you're learning behind that Colts line, you can go ahead and throw some Wildcat out there. We don't have that wall up front, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, you gotta
exactly.
like you said it best a week ago, Dustin. I actually quoted this on a fantasy show I did. I quoted
Oh,
you
you're quoting me now?
when you
Nice.
said when you're running an option on at a
Ant
fourth and
Mass,
inches
what
at the
up?
when you
Sorry,
run
go
an
ahead.
option on fourth and inches at the goal line, you're selling yourself. So the whole game plan is be bigger, stronger, and bully the guys in front of you. And the Bears don't have that
I mean, they got to
personnel.
find it. They got
They
to
don't
find
have
it if
that
they're going to win
personnel.
games. They
Yeah.
have to find it if they're going to win games this year, man.
I would have loved to seen some play action and let Caleb throw the damn ball. Not on the fourth down, but on one of those plays, man.
you know,
But Dustin, let's run over this injury report real quick, guys. We do want to get because this between the two teams, this is a chapter book, at least.
yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, man. This chat is funny with Judah and Ant Mash just joined us. We appreciate y'all being here,
What's
man.
up, Air
Staying up
Mass?
late with us. Yeah, right.
Thanks for joining us, man. It's late. Thanks
Yeah,
for
yeah.
being up.
Listen, man. The Bears injury report is long. In terms of did not participate today, you got Bayard. He's got 2 in a row, 2 DMPs in a row
He
with his
just had
back.
the highest PFF grade on the Bears last week.
Yeah, that would be a big piece missing in this game if he can get right. And we
Where they
only got
going still?
if he doesn't practice tomorrow, like I said this with Keenan Allen last week, if he doesn't practice tomorrow, we're not going to see him go
If
next
he
to.
doesn't, I'm calling this now. If he doesn't, we're at home. We're in Chicago. John Owens will play, and we are going to see just as many damn Simone Biles shots as we see Taylor Swift shots throughout a game. Watch.
I don't know about that, but okay. We got Zach Pickens with the groin. Terrell
Yeah,
Smith.
Pickens is like done. I don't know.
I mean,
They're concealing something there.
the groin is a tough one to recover from. I don't know if you've ever pulled your groin.
Yeah,
Man.
but man, they said
Painful as hell.
Eric Washington said in the preseason, we're not going to say he's unavailable for week 1, but we're not going to say he is available. Week 1, we're going into week 4, and on the first day of practice, he's listed as out.
Yeah, and it's like you could have put him on injured reserve and
Yeah.
had yourself a roster spot.
Talon Johnson could be on this team.
Yeah.
Without Keenan Allen, yeah.
Bear down,
But
everybody. Yeah.
Darnell
So
Wright, guys, most
hold on,
important.
real quick. Terrell Smith with his hip did not participate today. Daryl Taylor, they listed it as illness/knee. So he's got a couple things going on, and he's a guy we can't afford to be missing in this game either. And then the biggest one, man, and to me, is Billings with his knee was a DNP. Billings not being on this defensive line makes a major impact on how the Bears.
Well, no Pickens too.
Well, Pickens, they're living without right now, and they're still their run defense has still been decent.
I do want to say this, man.
Without Billings, they have Kyron Williams might run all over this team. That's something to watch.
I do want to say this. Chris Williams made a play in that game last week, guys. I don't know if you're like me and you go back and watch these games again, but
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
In that game, that wasn't as I haven't seen anywhere in a highlight reel, but Anthony Richardson tucked the ball and took off, and Williams was the only man there. I mean, Richardson was probably going 50 yards with that ball, man. And Williams tackled him open field, solo tackle. That's impressive. I mean, anybody who's doing that on Anthony Richardson.
Yeah. He took him down. Yeah, that was a hell of a play. And Michael here says Billings, the 4th best pass. I just did a Chris Collinsworth pass rush. Billings has the 4th best pass rush win rate among all defensive tackles this year. Missing him cannot be overstated enough. I fully agree with you, Michael.
Yeah,
we need Billings. We need Byard. We need those guys out there.
Yeah, Walker would play inside, guys, if that's the result.
I mean, that's where he's at his best, but it doesn't. The Bears are at a deficiency without Billings.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. I got to say this, guys. We're talking about, because me and Sean had a discussion about should Karan play if they're shorthanded. I think he should. Sean thinks he shouldn't. But Austin Booker has the worst PFF grade almost, I think, all 3 weeks. I mean, this guy is not performing, like not giving any.
He made a good play last week, I remember, on the run. But yeah, like he's coming in and sparingly, and his efficiency is not there yet. We expected that with him, but I think he's going to get it together. I think he will be an impact player on this defense.
I wouldn't mind if you are short Taylor. I would imagine Hardy's going to play some defense, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
As long as he stops getting penalties.
So limited participants for the Bears. Keenan Allen with his heel, 2 limiteds in a row, so he's trending towards playing, which is huge. Blossom game with the hand knee. Braxton Jones limited with the knee. Roma Dunze limited with the knee. And then Darnell Wright limited with his back. Now, he was a DMP yesterday, and he was limited today, so that's a good sign.
And that is one of those players, guys, who they're going to give a break to if he needs, if that guy needs a day off, Darnell Wright, you're going to give it to him.
I mean, hopefully he's good to go and then he has a full participation tomorrow so that we're not having this conversation. But Brandon, you brought it up, and I mean, it could impact this game in a major way. I mean, Braxton Jones being limited as well. These are concerns. You just never know how it's going to go. You can say you expect him to play, but shit can go bad. Darnell Wright being out could put the Bears in a position where they're throwing Nate Davis back out there at guard and moving Pryor to right tackle. I know, and I agree with you on this. If Kieran Amagaji is available and ready to go, I'd much rather see our 3rd round pick out there and see what he's got. And I mean, it can't get worse than what we've seen with his offensive line in my mind.
I'm just doing I'm going to any extent to make sure that Nate Davis remains on the bench. That's my goal. If Mark Pryor's got to move over to right and that requires Davis plays. Or Matt Pryor's got to move over to right tackle, and that requires Davis plays back in his right guard slot. I'm not doing it, man. I guess just not getting on my field. The team looks different when he's not on the field. Like I said, I've noticed things beyond effort. I mean, effort's bad enough because it's not more than production. I think it's effort. But I told you guys, if you go back and watch that Texans game, there's two plays where Caleb gets sacked because of Nate Davis. He gets beat, and Nate Davis just stands next to Caleb and allows somebody else to help him up. It's like, what are you doing, man? I mean, do you even care at this juncture? So that's
Yeah,
disturbing.
I mean, and regardless of all that, man, like I said, just a third round pick, a guy we drafted to play that position in the third round. I mean, teams draft guys in the third round to make impacts on their rosters
Yeah,
immediately.
yeah.
That I mean, that's
I was saying this earlier, man. 1 and 2 day picks should be impact players. Once you're getting in the fourth round, I get it. Like if you miss, okay. But day one, day two picks in the NFL draft should be impact players on your roster, without a doubt.
so we're hoping Wright can go. We're hoping he can go, and hopefully we're not having to have this conversation. And honestly, man, if I had to pick, I would say, they'll roll Nate Davis back out there. Just based on what they've done in the past, they'll roll Nate Davis back out there and they'll put Pryor at the right tackle position. Keenan Allen makes a huge difference to this offense. I mean, as long as Caleb has time to get these receivers the ball, Keenan Allen being out there is going to make a huge difference if he can suit up. And I mean, the one Billings and Taylor and Byard, man, like those could be huge, huge misses for this defense going out there on Sunday, man. And I was saying on Monday, I'm gonna be hard pressed to pick the Bears to win this game after what I just saw on Sunday against the Colts, man. It's so like, and if you start missing players like this, that makes it that much harder.
We'll get to the picks later, but you want to dive into this Bears game?
Well, I mean, let's talk about key players out for the Rams. I wasn't trying to transition into picks, Brandon. I was just kind of making the point. Like those things make it harder.
I thought it was just a bad segue.
Sometimes what? You think? I mean, the Rams are missing a lot of players across their offensive line. I mean, Noteboom, Avila, Connor McDermott, like the Leviston, like they got 3 guys on their offensive line that are on injured reserve right now. They're going to be having a tough time putting together a starting 5 that's going to protect Matthew Stafford. They've given up 10 sacks in 3 games, so they're having a tough time there. Could be a place the Bears exploit them, honestly.
The Bears' defensive line has the number 1 win rate in the NFL. It's 71%.
Yeah. So, I mean, that plays in their favor, those injuries. Johnson being out, Jermaine Johnson, the strong safety. Obviously, Nakua and Kupp are both going to be out. And
I think it's John Johnson.
Oh, sorry, my bad. But Cooper Kupp and Nakua both out as well. I mean, offensively, that puts them down to what, Ty Whittington and Robinson, Demarcus Robinson. Like those are the receivers that the Rams are throwing to.
Yeah, and I think their tight end's like Cody Parkinson or something like that.
These guys are already making predictions. Bayesian starts, Bears win 24-13. Judas always does this. He's got his disclaimer with the Bayesian start versus the Caleb start. So yeah, the injuries for both teams are they're long right now, so that could play a huge role in this game. In terms of the Rams, man, what stands out to you about this team to where they can be exploited, or where there's a strength to watch there? What are you looking for in this game?
I'm glad you asked, man, because to me, Matt Stafford's always going to be Matt Stafford. That's the guy you got to be careful of. He's
so freaking good, dude. He's so good.
Because honestly, man, if you look at like a lot of their statistics, they're very below league average until you get to like their passing stats. Then it's like, okay, well that makes it. Stafford's already thrown for a quality amount of yards.
Well, their pass yards are per game are 231 per game, right?
He's at 694 yards on the season, so almost 700 yards. Yards per attempt, almost 8 yards. 231 per game. They have only thrown 2 passing touchdowns, so Stafford only has 2 touchdowns on the season. But you asked me where I think the Bears' biggest strength is in this game, and guys, the numbers on this defense is just awful. It's the numbers on the Rams comparatively. They have scored 19 points per game while allowing opponents 30 points per game. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that's probably one of the highest numbers in the league.
And let me say this too: the Bears are allowing 19 points per game, so they're right on par with allowing what the Rams have been able to score so far this season. So that's important.
And get this, they have allowed 10 total touchdowns through 3 weeks. That's more than an average of more than 3 touchdowns a game. But here's the thing that when you actually see the numbers, they've allowed the opposition 91 points through 3 weeks, guys.
Well, real quick, because
that's
you
30 points or more. I mean, and then they've scored 57.
so you're saying they've allowed 10 touchdowns. The Bears have scored 5. So, I mean, strength versus weakness there. Or are we talking weakness versus weakness there? Because they give up a lot of points, but the Bears aren't scoring a lot of points. So something's got to give there.
I'm just saying this is where the Rams are their worst, without a
For
doubt.
sure. But the Bears are bad, almost as equally as bad on the other side. So,
I mean, yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into that a little later because the numbers that I see. So when I look at a team like the Rams, man, they're missing players, obviously, but it's the same coach, the same quarterbacks, almost the same roster, minus the guys who are injured.
Some pretty key guys too.
Yeah, but those guys' numbers through 3 weeks is different. Like comparing a new offensive coordinator, a new scheme, a new quarterback, 2 new receivers, a new tight end, a new running back, and 2 new offensive line. Like this Bears team is new. That's what it is, from almost top to bottom. Besides DJ Moore, Tevin Jenkins, you've pretty much
the whole offensive line, damn near, except for the center.
Well, Darnell Wright's young, but a lot of new pieces. So when I'm looking at the first 3 weeks of the Bears' offensive stats, I don't want to pay too much attention to that. The way that Caleb finished that game last week, man.
You don't want to pay attention to their offensive stats?
No, because if you look at
they matter. They matter.
Yeah, but so how do you think the trends matter in a new team? Because they've scored more points and had more yards collectively every game, rushing and throwing. Like,
yeah, for sure. But
do you think that's
they're averaging 17.7? Their average points per game went down last week. They were averaging 19 and a half going into that game against the Colts. Now they're averaging 17.7.
Well,
so
I want to just focus on their points on offense, because the reason you're saying, like, they scored defensive touchdowns. That's why their points were never that high to begin with. You know what I mean? They scored a special teams touchdown and a defensive touchdown, but they scored 10 points. They scored 3 field goals and a 2-point conversion in week 1. They scored 13 points in week 2. This is just the offense. They scored They scored 16 points in week 3. So 10, 13, 16. So they've increased every week by 3 points. But last week was the first time the offense got in the end zone twice, or more than once, I should say. So I do think this week the Bears offense takes another progression. I do.
Okay, and you're basing that off of what? Just the fact that the Rams are kind of putrid on defense?
Yeah, they don't really develop. They win. Their win rate on the pass rush is 32% of the time, which puts them like 19th, I believe, in the league.
They have 4 sacks all season as of right now. They have 4 sacks.
They're not very good up front, guys, and they're probably even worse in the secondary.
So let me make this point just to kind of counteract what you're saying, because as you're pointing out, it's all very accurate. They're allowing 30 points per game. They've allowed 70 first downs through fucking 3 weeks. They're allowing, this is a huge one. They're allowing 54% third down conversion rate so far through 3 games.
And they're allowing a passer rating of 80%.
So they're allowing a passer rating of what? 80? Oh,
completion percentage of 80. Yeah, completion percentage of 80, guys.
So they're bad. Yeah, they're bad in terms of what they're giving up on defense. There's a lot there. I mean, pass yards per attempt, they're giving up 9.8. They're almost giving up double digits on pass yards per attempt. The Bears, for perspective, are giving up 6.3 pass yards per attempt. So that's a big difference there. And the Rams are only averaging 7.4 pass yards per attempt. So the Bears might be able to win in that aspect too. But my thing is, if the Rams are allowing, what is it? In terms of rushing yards per game, they're allowing 5.1 yards per carry to the opponent's running back right now. But if the Bears are averaging 3, now you got a weakness versus a weakness. And it's the same thing that it was last week against the Colts, where that Colts run defense was awful, but the Bears run offense was awful. So which one was going to break through? And the Bears run offense did not break through in that game. The Colts run defense, the winner of that matchup. So when you have these weaknesses versus weaknesses in terms of what a team's allowed so far and how a team's performing, I have a hard time picking the Bears to identify that and take advantage of it because I haven't seen them do it so far this season, Brandon.
Well, and I want to talk about something, man. We've talked about this for weeks. We talked about it on House All Hangover. The identity of this team. You asked me 2 weeks ago, what's the identity of this team? And I said,
They don't have one.
I said defensive, run the ball down your throat. And that was the in retrospect, man. It's like that's a bad call. This team lost the best rushing piece they had in Justin Fields. DeAndre Swift's not going to get what Justin Fields provided the last 2 years, over almost 3,000 yards. But this team added Keenan Allen, drafted Roma Dunze, signed Gerald Everett, signed DeAndre Swift, who is, guys,
A
seen
pass
as
catching
more
back.
of a pass. Like, this team's identity is they dropped the rookie quarterback 52 times. I don't want to see that, but I do think that Caleb's going to drop back on average between 28 to 35 times a game. I think this team's identity is going to be passing the ball.
Run and gun type of offense,
That is where they're best. Their weapons are on the outside, man.
Yeah, but the problem that's presented, if that's going to be your identity, is are you going to pass protect? Are you capable of pass protecting?
They've been a much better pass. As bad as people are giving this, like the sacks, this unit's actually been a much better pass protect than run block, without a doubt. They're
But they're bad at both. They're 32nd.
They're the worst in the league in run blocking for sure.
They're the worst offense in the league in terms of DVOA. They're 32nd in the league offensively. They're the worst offense in the league right now. And the biggest part of that is the offensive line, because they're not really that good at pass protecting either. Just because they're awful at run blocking does not make them good at pass protecting, because they're better at pass protecting than they are at run blocking. They're not doing either one well.
Like I said, man, I said this to you guys earlier today, and I think it's going to come to fruition. It's strange coming from my mouth, man. I think they're better than we think they are, as long as Nate Dave. I can't stress enough, guys, how much that guy should not be on the field. That guy should not be on the field. That guy is a poison to the rest of this team. I think they played with more energy on that line without Nate Davis. I really do. I think guys were holding each other accountable. The snap count thing wasn't even necessary. Pryor wasn't tapping Shelton. So, like, it's just better. It's better without that guy on the field.
Well, that tapping was still happening, and then it happened when Nate Davis went out for his.
It had the first time it happened was when Nate Davis was back on the field.
I mean, if you're talking about an area to exploit for this Rams defense, I mean, pick your poison. They're allowing 248 passing yards per game. They're allowing 248 passing yards per game. They're allowing 177 rushing yards per game. You can get off on them in a myriad of ways, and they have a lot of injuries in key positions on that defense. So it's quite possible the Bears can exploit it if they come out with a good game plan. But that game plan, to me, needs to be centered around establishing your run offense against this team, because then the pass will come from that. So if that means more Roschon Johnson, I'm all for it, to be honest. I do believe Swift is a better back than what he's shown so far this year, than what the Bears have allowed him to show. I think he's being put in some bad positions. Like, everybody's posting that DeAndre Swift's carries through fucking 3 games, 37 carries or whatever it is like -12, -8, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1. I mean, I don't think the Bears are getting him the ball in an advantageous situations. So, I mean, if you can't, and I said this last week and Kyle brought it up, and I'm all for it. Like, if you can wear down that defense with Roschon and establish the run game that they actually have to potentially to worry about a little bit, then maybe you can get Swift the ball on the outside with some open space in front of him, because that's where he is at his best. like you said, man, he's not breaking a lot of tackles. He had his most broken tackles last year for the Eagles, and by far, but it's not happening for him this year. The Bears need to utilize their offensive weapons in a way that works for them, because I don't see them getting the ball to these players with the ability to make a move and then break it for a long one. It seems like the defense always knows what we're doing. They're always there for it. It's going to be hard to see that changing against the Rams, even as bad as their offense is. I'm sorry, their defense is, just because how bad the Bears' offense has been.
I'm not even going to throw any. I don't really want to throw any rushing numbers at you, man. I think Caleb's going to have 300 yards plus 3 touchdowns in this game.
Nice. I would love to see that, man.
Yeah, I think the Bears win this game handedly in Chicago. I do.
Well, if you start talking about Caleb having 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, now what is Matt Stafford doing on the other side? Because we're talking about this Rams defense and what they're allowing in terms of passing yards. The Bears defense is a lot better. Like I said, the Rams are allowing 9.8 pass yards per attempt. So a clear weakness that the Bears should be able to take advantage of.
Yeah, I have the Rams. If you're a fantasy guy, if you have the Rams fantasy kicker, I would start him this week. I see the Rams scoring a lot of field goals this week.
Now, the Rams are averaging 231 passing yards per game. I said that, but the Bears are allowing 165 per game. So
that is so good.
It is. Now, but the Bears are only averaging 176 and the Rams are allowing 248. So it's like a lot of this, like, who's going to step up? The Rams are looking at the Bears and how they've performed and saying, just as weak as we are against these things, they're kind of weak at doing those things so far. So how do we keep that trend going? Are we good with Caleb dropping back 60 times and letting
what I
him
think is
make
going to, but Dustin, what I do think is going to be tough is something that's probably not, it's paid very little mind when a rookie quarterback's playing, and I think you saw a little bit of it with Jaden Daniels this past week against Cincinnati. Is these guys are going to progress week by week, so it's really hard to scheme against a rookie that has the potential to be a really good player, because like you can think, because the Rams have one of the highest blitz rates in the NFL. They're 12 and blitz rate. Now, I'm not saying
losing Aaron Donald will do that.
I'm not saying that's their success rate. That's the rate in which
that's the rate that they run it. Yes,
but you can think, oh, they like this guy's been really bad against the blitz. This line doesn't hold up on a 5-man rush like Caleb's. But if Caleb just gets a little bit better this week, teams also get exposed by blitzing a lot. I mean, that's Justin Fields managed to beat the Vikings because of that. So this is going to be a game. Like I think every week that Caleb Williams is going to get better, and I think as long as people treat him like he's the quarterback we watched in week 1, like just make Caleb throw the ball. I think that's going to eventually start to really bite people in the ass, and I think people are eventually going to approach this team, because I told you I think their identity is different than I did initially. I think that people are definitely going to start to approach this team like, we got to make sure Caleb can't throw a damn ball. Like if we got to get a little space to run the ball, we have to do that, because we don't want Caleb throwing the ball.
Let me play devil's advocate to that, though, because it's not just Caleb in week 1. Caleb threw 2 interceptions just last week. And it's not a thing of, you have to be able to run the ball, Brandon. You have to. If you can't run the ball, then teams will identify.
Of course you do, but Shane Waldron's the system that everybody preached to me he was hired for, ran the ball almost the least effectively. But he's still got a 4,000-yard passing season out of his quarterback.
I'll say this, man. The Bears' identity in Chicago in the winter cannot be a run and gun offense, man. It just can't. I have to counter what you're saying with that, because you're talking about
why do you say that, though? Do you think the Packers' identity has been run the ball in their existence?
Of course, they had a very good run game last year. They have a very good run game damn near every year.
Aaron Rodgers' tenure, man, I wouldn't say their identity was running the ball.
No, but they
I wouldn't
ran
say.
the ball enough to give Aaron Rodgers the
Right. That doesn't make
opportunity.
that your identity. I'm not saying to you, man, that the Bears are going to abandon the run and they should never succeed in it and it won't help at all and it's useless. What I'm saying is that's the thing they're going to use to balance a passing game where a lot of teams, and I think we talked about early in the season, man, their approach was to be run the ball to open up the passing game. I think they're going to do it like pass like Joe Burrows in the league do. Like they're going to throw the ball, and when teams concern themselves with that, that will give the Bears the ability to run. That's the identity I think they need to approach moving forward. I really do.
And again, they did that last week. And the three turnovers, sorry, when Caleb was dropping back, they flipped that game.
Yeah,
That's the reason the Bears lost that
I
game.
fully expect. So I don't know if are you implying that if Caleb continues to throw a lot, he'll continue to make mistakes?
Caleb is gonna maybe lead the league in interceptions if the way this
Yeah,
this
I
this
think he's a
offensive
player.
game plan
I
keeps
think a
going.
player. I think a player. He's a player who's going to learn from those and limit them, man.
Yeah, but the
Because if you
defenses
don't
he's
think
playing are gonna
because if
learn
you don't
too, bro.
because if you don't think that about Caleb, you don't think he's that special.
No, I think special rookie quarterbacks have thrown a lot of interceptions in their rookie
But
season when
special
that's the way it's
players
approached.
also learn from doing dumb
But
things.
it didn't stop Peyton Manning from throwing 28 interceptions.
Yeah,
It
I,
just didn't. So like all I'm saying is
I'm
you
not gonna beat
can't.
my opinion to death, man. I think that's what the Bears'
I'm,
identity needs to be moving forward.
but that won't be them as a playoff team, Brandon. They're not going to win games like that, bro. They're just
So you
not.
don't so you don't think I don't know, man.
They won't.
Listen, man. I like DeAndre Swift. I like the signing. He hasn't been good, but I'm not gonna. The offensive line blocking's been a problem. Like, I think Swift can be a better player. I think they can exploit Swift. Swift, Herbert, and Roshan to me is still one of the worst running rooms in the NFL. And you can. A lot of people are going to argue with me on that, but they are. If you take, I knew when Justin Fields was removed from that. These guys are pretty average guys. I really still believe that about almost all three of them. Like Swift's yards under expectancy was terrible, but I think Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen, and DJ Moore is where this team is better than almost everybody
It's
across the field.
it's where
That's
their
where
strength is. The receiver room is
so
their strength.
so
Yes,
I
I
think
agree.
that's what you need to lean on. That's where you're gonna beat most people. Is
It
that
seems like that's the way this team is designed. It does. Like it's just the way that they've laid it out. Now, all I'm saying is that might have been poor thought process. You get so like
yeah,
enamored with all the shiny
they
weapons.
could have signed Saquon Barkley. That would have been a
Yeah,
different thing.
yeah, 24 versus what 36 million he got to go to Philly. Like I mean, the Bears were second in that, from what I understand,
Yeah.
in terms of they tried
And I think
and
if
they
he's on
weren't.
your team, your identity is different.
But
I do believe
no, for
that.
sure. But that identity might be better than the one we're rolling out with this year in terms of winning football games, is all I'm saying. And but you're right. They have to play to their strengths and they have to take advantage of their weapons. And in order to do that, they're gonna have to pass the ball because their best weapons are on the outside and they're receivers. And I expect Caleb to continue to get better. I just expect there to be growing pains with that will affect whether or not the Bears win or lose games. And I think they might end up losing more than they win if that's the way they're going to approach this game. I think it's very vital that they establish a run game, that they how to do it, and not just enough to just get by, enough to where they make a team really worried about that going into a game. They really do,
So
because that's what's going to open up this passing game for Caleb and make it easier for him.
this is my view, man. So I've been paying close attention, like, and I know the running game is under the biggest spotlight here in Chicago, under the biggest magnifying glass, I should say. But like, I'm watching the progression of the passing offense. The running offense to me has been the same since week one. And you can say, oh, they put Roshan Johnson. It looked a little like it wasn't good. It wasn't good against the Colts, against the team that allows the most rushing yards per game. We still averaged under 4 yards per carry. It's not acceptable. I see progression, and I don't see progression in the run game from week one to week three. You can tell me there is. They plugged a better player in when it comes to
I don't
just
see it either. That's my biggest
they
concern. I
they
don't see
plugged
it
a
either.
better player in when it comes to downhill running and breaking a tackle or two. They got a guy on their roster that can do that. That's what you're going to need because Swift. I think it was like point 0.4 Yeah, it was point 0.4 yards before contact. That's what DeAndre Swift's running rate. When receiving the ball in the backfield, DeAndre Swift has a half a yard before contact. That's not acceptable, man.
Is
So
that a reflection of what's that a reflection of though?
the offensive line.
Yes,
No, I
yes,
believe Swift is a good player, man. I
yes.
like
He
this
is. You can
DeAndre Swift
see it when
talent.
he touches the ball.
He
He's got
he
something.
looks healthy too. I've been
Fuck
saying
yeah.
this to everybody. He looks like he's really in shape. He looks like he's got the motor. He looks like the same DeAndre Swift he was drafted to be. He
Gotta get him the
does.
ball in
He's
space.
and you guys opened my eyes to the fact that he's still a really young player. I didn't think that, to be honest. I thought he'd been in the league for longer, but he's still a young guy. But I still believe that the progression I've seen from the passing game, man, makes me believe that this team is going to open every game like they did against the Colts. They threw that big 22-yard pass, whatever it was, to DJ Moore. I think that this is going to be what they're going to do coming out the gates. And I think their hope is if Caleb Williams can, like you said, if you're limiting your mistakes and he's just a threat as a passer, if you got to concern yourself with him and you're leaving guys in coverage, I think that Shane Waldron is going to try to use the passing game to make an effective run game. That is a
So
possibility. There's teams
instead
in the
of
NFL that do this well.
instead of the run game getting 8 guys in the box and you opening up downfield, you're saying the pass game gets that defense spread out, and then that opens up lanes for the running
Right, where
backs
Swift will be a very valuable player if that's
for
the
sure. And
scenario.
if you're talking about a team that's susceptible to that type of game plan, it's the Rams for
Yeah,
sure.
their secondary is not good. It's I mean, I don't know. By the end of the year, it could be a different story. But right now, guys, through 3 weeks, that's the
Not
place I'm
looking good.
looking at this team.
Yeah,
Because, like you said, Dustin, you have to find your own weaknesses. More important than finding another team's strengths is finding your own weaknesses, or finding another team's weaknesses is finding your own. You can't run the ball. You're not doing this well. So even if you see the Rams allow, I think you said 177 yards a game, that's a lot, guys. But I still think Shane
but they
Waldron should.
also allow 250 pass yards per game.
Yeah, I
So
still
they
think
allow.
Shane Waldron should approach this game like our strength is these three guys who are catching the ball and our quarterback who we project to be this just gunslinger. I mean, he's not a running quarterback. Like they want Caleb to be the guy that can do what Patrick Mahomes does. And I think that's kind of the way the Chiefs operate, man. To be honest, like once Patrick starts to throw the ball, once that gets moving, that's when Pacheco. I don't think Pacheco's like a very special player. I think he's the product of a quarterback that people are afraid of. And I think the Bears can kind of start to hone that identity where you come out of the gates and you prove these three receivers are too much to handle. Caleb's a good player. That's why I'm saying Caleb's progression every week is going to change how defenses look at this team. And I think what I saw in the last 17 minutes of last week, he was 13 of 15 with like 163 yards and 2 touchdowns. I'm a big believer, man. You know this, Dustin. You know me. I'm a big believer that in the NFL, things
Momentum.
carry over more
Momentum.
than any other sport. Momentum. People and DJ Moore said today. They said, what happens to it?" Like it kind of clicked at the end of that game for you guys. What the passing game? What happens? What happens to a team like internally? What's the mindset once something clicks? And he said, after that, it's like shooting a basket.
I'll be real with you. When you sent that text, my thought was sending back the white chocolate gif from Along Came Polly with Philip Seymour Hoffman throwing up bricks. Now, I hope that's not the case. And like you're saying, hey, like I'm feeling a little more positive about these Bears right now. Just in terms of looking at what this Rams defense is susceptible to, the Bears could take advantage of some of this stuff, man. I'm curious from your perspective, who's the Rams player, one or two, or whoever you got in terms of who you're most concerned about in this matchup?
Oh, 100% after what I watched last week, man. I mean, it looks like the Bears' rush defense is really solid, but when it comes to players that can actually make big plays, man, like John Taylor is a very capable of. I think they have like 12 runs of over 20 yards already in 3 weeks.
Talking
This
about
guy,
Kyron Williams.
yes,
Okay.
Williams. Well, no, I'm talking about what John Taylor did to the Bears
Yes.
makes
Okay.
me very concerned about Kyron Williams because Kyron
Yeah.
Williams is on my fantasy team and he's been reliable. Like,
He
and
had 3
he's
touchdowns
and I
last week.
and one I told you guys this. They only have two passing. Matt Stafford has two passing touchdowns on the season, But the Rams have still been scoring points. Don't get it twisted. He has scored 4 touchdowns through 3 weeks. He's averaged over a touchdown per week. So like, that's the guy that terrifies me. Man, remember that one season? I don't know if it was a Nagy year or maybe Fluce's first year where the Bears just couldn't stop the run. They allowed like 173 yards a game rushing.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, that's just I'm not accustomed to this as a Bears fan, but I've come to find like you can be you can have limited talent in your pass defense and get away with being a good defense. If you can't stop the run, man, it's over. Like that Colts team, the Bears played Anthony Richardson, who is a talented player that can do a lot and confuse you. They contained him. They didn't. He missed some throws,
I
but they
find
did.
it I find it ironic that you just said if you can't stop the run, it's over, but the Bears' identity is going to be a passing offense, and the establishing the run
Well,
is not
I
going to
I
be,
think I think the Bears I think the Bears' identity is going to be a passing offense, but I did still say though that like I think they're going to utilize that to find themselves a rush game because Dustin, let's be honest, them leading with when they're approaching this games with like the run is the thing we're going to do the most. That's what we're going to try to establish first, and we're going to open up the pass game. It's not working, and I think that's because that's not your strength, man. You brought in we were talking all season about how the Bears might have the best receiving core in the league and certainly the best one we've ever seen in Chicago. And that's where you're special, man. That's where you have to
let's
beat these teams.
let's talk about this because you just brought up Kyron Williams. The Bears have allowed 22 first downs rushing this season so far. They're allowing 365 rushing yards. They've allowed 365 rushing yards total, allowing 4.5 yards per attempt, and they're allowing 121.7 rushing yards per. So
Yeah,
this defense that everyone's talking.
the first half of the Titans game, man, Pollard played well. And
Mhm.
the entirety of the Colts game, John Taylor played well. Even whoever the backup is had two
Sermon,
runs.
Trey Sermon, Trey
Sermon
Sermon.
had two runs for like 15 yards. And then
Oh,
they with the one thing that benefit like in regards to their rush defense, they took Mixon out of the game by almost snapping
Mixon
his
was
ankle.
having success though.
Yeah, and
Still,
they
he was.
almost broke his ankle, and that benefited the Bears for sure. So like,
But if we're talking about a place where the Bears can lose this game, guys, it's the Rams being able to run roughshod with Kyron Williams over this Bears defense. As much as this Bears defense is being lauded for its abilities, that running that's not great. Allowing 122 rushing yards per game. They've allowed
no,
4 rushing touchdowns.
and
That's not great.
more importantly, man, I mean, defenses that give every defense in the league gives up big plays on defense. They give up big plays in the passing game. You want to limit those, but it's going to happen. Quarterbacks in this league can throw, and there's receivers that can get open. You cannot allow big touchdowns in the run, man. You can't allow 30-yard touchdown runs. That is
That'll
your
break your back.
Achilles.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. I was gonna say Achilles, but yeah, you're right. It's more important. That is like
Yeah.
what you stand on. So
Mhm.
when the Bears got beat by John Taylor on that big play, man, that was the moment where I thought to myself, they're gonna lose this damn game. Because remember, Dustin, you texted me, whichever team establishes the run first is going to win this game. I think it was like minutes after you texted that to me that Taylor took like a
And
30
I
yard
said
of
the
the
culture.
house.
I think the culture are about to do it right now, and that's
So
exactly what they did. Yeah.
so I think you put that in my head because when I saw that run for that touchdown, I was like, man, Colts are gonna win this game
No,
for
yeah, I
sure.
literally said, and the Colts are about to do it right now. And then on that
Yeah.
drive, he had that touchdown run
Yeah.
that's the way.
It
That's how
was a hell
quickly
of a
these
run,
games.
man. I'm not saying the Bears like
That's
Taylor
how
got
quickly these games can
small.
get away from you,
He
man.
got he got small. He was patient. He stood behind offensive linemen and kind of popped out like it was a really good run. It impressed the hell out of me. But the Bears from week one to now have not looked great in defending the run. And I'm
Let's
going to say this, man. If that's something Flus can't do, yeah, get the hell out of Dodge, dude.
let's talk about that because in this week at home against a beat up Rams team, if you can't make a commitment to stop the run and Kyron Williams goes off on you, that's
If you approach
Fluce's.
a
That's
game without Cooper Cup and Puka Nakua, if you approach a game in any other way than stop Kyron Williams,
stop Kyron Williams. make Matthew Stafford drop back and beat you. Now Matthew Stafford is a great veteran quarterback, savvy, knows what he's doing.
He's
But
also he's
he's got
also
nobody
better
to
than
throw to.
people would assume at his age at getting like he doesn't run, but he extends
He
plays.
maneuvers in the pocket
Yeah,
very
yeah,
well.
he's
He's got
crafty. He's like
great
Tony
pocket presence.
Romo. Yeah, he can extend a play by a few seconds. You got to get him on, and he's not little either. You got to get him on the ground, man.
But yeah, if they can't stop the run in this game and make that commitment, then like you said, that's Fluce's defense, and they're getting run all over right now, guys. The monsters of the midway right now. So that's where this game could be won or lost. Again, we're talking about it going into the game, the same as we were talking about it last week. Whoever establishes the run in this game first is going to win this game. Whoever establishes the run is going to win it. And another key it's going to be for the Bears, man. The Bears are losing the first half now for the season, 40-13. They're being outscored in the first half, 40-13.
Yeah, see, I don't see this game going that way. So here's another thing that I've been
Well,
kind
they
of
got to have a lead going into the half, man. They have to.
I've been kind of paying attention to this, man. So in regards to rookie quarterbacks, when they're away on their first game, they almost always lose. When they're at home and first overall picks, still almost always lose. Caleb clearly came in that first game at home with the jitters. He was way too hyped. He was missing throws. Then his second game, he goes to Houston. He plays a good football team, and he's. I mean, guys, we know what
Under
happened.
relentless pressure
We
the
know
entire
what happened in the second game. He was almost killed. The third
Hey, we
game,
got a new chat member, TB17. What's up, man? He wants Bajent.
the third game, there was no home crowd hype. There was no. I mean, he didn't get chased around the entire game, and he got a little comfortable, and just a little comfortable. The kid threw 360 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, I firmly believe the first game back or the second game at home, the pressure's a little bit relieved, right? This is not the home opener. It's a little bit of relief, but he is back in front of his home crowd. I think this is going to be a really big day for Caleb Williams. I really, really, really do, man. I think he's going to feel comfortable from the first drive. And we haven't seen that yet. We have not seen that yet with this
Does
quarterback.
he outduel Matt Stafford? Because again, the Bears' pass defense is the strength of this defense as of right now. Is
Do
Matt
I?
Stafford going to be able to go off against this Bears defense?
No, no. If he's purely passing from the pocket, no, man. We know that.
The Bears should be able to get
This team
healthy in
is
terms
this
of
team
getting
is
after the quarterback in this game.
this team has taken the ball away, guys, now 6 times in 3 games. I mean, this is actually no 7. Sorry, so they took 3 takeaways in the first game, 1 in the second game against Houston, and 3 against the Colts.
That's one thing the Rams don't do is turn the ball over so far. That's one thing the Rams have not done much of. They
I
control
mean,
the
the Bears
ball.
have 2 forced fumbles, and we're playing a bunch of backup receivers. I like the turnover battle here in favor of the Bears.
I'd
I
like
think the
to
Bears.
see
I think the Bears get a takeaway, and I think the Rams do not.
I'd like to see at least 3 sacks in this game. I mean that's what the Rams are allowing a little over 3 sacks per game so far. That offensive line has a lot of problems. I think if the Bears can get after the quarterback, it can really change the way this game goes in my mind, the way I'm seeing it right
Well,
now.
yeah, and you like honestly though, man. Even if like you want to put pressure on Stafford because, like you said, he's
The
savvy, man.
pressure is what matters, no doubt.
He's a veteran, but I think if you take the run game away from Stafford, there will be no problems getting to Matt Stafford with the offensive line injuries they have, man.
That's
If
the
you
recipe to
if
win this game.
if you
Yes.
stop Kyron Williams and you force them to start, if you force because we know Stafford's capable of dropping back 40 times, you start forcing that. Even with the packages, I will say this, even with the packages that Flus puts together in the blitz, man, like the Rams are in trouble. Like you got Sanborn and Edwards and Edmonds coming up. You got Kyler Gordon. You've got a lot of pieces on this team that can get home if you know a team is required to pass.
Yeah. And the Rams are
That's when Flus is coaching his game, man. When he knows he has the ability to do whatever it takes to get pressure on a court because Flus since he took over play calling has been really heavy in blitz and when the run game's working against when Jonathan Taylor's jamming the ball down your throat. You can't do that stuff, man. It doesn't work.
Well, I mean, it's going to come down to that. It's going to come down to can you stop Kyron Williams? Can you put the ball in Matt Stafford's hands and get some pressure on? I mean, I think that's really the key to success for this Bears defense this Week 4 matchup. Can you make them one-dimensional and get after the quarterback? Because if you can, as we just established, if Kyron Williams is going to run for 120 yards in this game, if the Rams put up 120 to 130 rushing yards, I don't think the Bears stand a chance of winning that game. I really don't.
Yeah, and you asked me for two players that concern me, man. Kyron Williams was one. The other guy is obvious. It's Jared Verse. He's been good enough as a rookie so far. He's got a pretty good win rate. I think it's in the 80s. And Braxton
Against
Jones.
this offensive line?
Braxton Jones has looked. Verse is not a guy that goes inside, but if he's one-on-one with Braxton Jones, or if they do anything like they did last week where DeAndre Carter, Cole Kmet, and Mercedes Lewis are blocking people.
They fucking better not, bro. They better
If
not.
that happens, Verse is getting home for sure. And I don't want to see any more strip sacks, man. Like, if Caleb's going to turn the ball over, let him do it on his own accord. Don't let a guy come blind. You know what I mean? That's the last thing this kid needs.
Yeah, I mean, but also Caleb's got to be aware of where that pressure could be.
That play, man. Latu played that beautiful. He went all the way around the back door, dude.
Yeah, but Caleb knew the play. The play was designed to have a tight end. Your tight ends take care of that defensive end. So, I mean, you got to have a clock in your head that's going off real quick if you're Caleb Williams right now, because I still don't trust this offensive line to pass protect. And if I don't trust it, I don't know how Caleb Williams can trust it. And he's got to be prepared for pressure, because this Rams team will blitz and they will go after him. And hopefully we don't see a repeat of what we saw against the Texans in terms of this Bears offensive line just crumbling under a 5-man pressure. Because if that happens, it's going to be a long day for Caleb, man.
Real quick, thank you, Tyson Bajan 17, for joining the chat, man. We appreciate you watching the show, especially at this hour. I'm glad you're up.
Yeah, I already shouted him out.
Okay. This guy's a pretty diehard Bajan fan, man.
Can't even. I mean, there's like this Bajan contingency that's interesting. I thought Bajan performed pretty well in the preseason. I don't want to see him in the regular season. I want to see our rookie quarterback get the snaps.
Hold on. Let's. I'm good. Like, let's get to this. So this chat TV 17 can't even beat the Colts, who got a QB even worse than Caleb. I'm going to disagree with that. But Stafford going to destroy us. So what does a QB being better than Caleb have to do with that QB, the opposing QB? This defense has not been destroyed by any QB. Regardless of what you think of Caleb Williams isn't playing linebacker. He's not rushing the pass.
Yeah, but that's always going to be the case. It's that quarterback versus that quarterback. Anthony Richardson did not play a good game.
Neither did CJ Stroud. The Bears defense has made good quarterbacks look like dog shit, man. So I don't know, why you would think Stafford is going to come in and have a better game than CJ Stroud without his best players is interesting. That's an interesting thought. I'm not thinking about this, Dustin. We've done this for so long, man. For 15 years, we've done this. You know me. I'm not biased. If anything, I'm pessimistic, guys. I am being realistic when I think that a quarterback versus the Bears defense without his two number one weapons is probably in a little bit of trouble. When you add 3 offensive line injuries, this is going to be a long day for Matthew Stafford.
The Rams have thrown 2 touchdowns. You pointed that out so far this season. Do you know how many the Bears have allowed?
None. 1. Nico Collins.
2. They've allowed two touchdowns passing.
Where was the other? Oh, the tight end on Tennessee.
Okonkwo or whatever his name is. Yeah, Chizzy. Now, here's another interesting thing that goes with this, because you're predicting a breakout game for Caleb, and TB17 obviously does not agree with you because Caleb's so bad we literally can't win unless defense gives up like 7 points. Now, the Rams defense has allowed 7 passing touchdowns on the season. Brock Purdy went off on them last week with no real weapons besides that.
He gave me like 30 fantasy points against
them. Through 4 touchdowns. The Rams have given up 7 touchdowns. that lines up with your Caleb theory of him having 3 touchdowns in this game. That would be on trend, on par for the Rams so far this season.
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me at all if well, first off, TB17, while you're here, man, I'm glad once again, thanks for joining us. How many
Yeah,
points do you
thank you
think?
very much.
How many
Make
think
sure you hit
how
the
many
like button, by the way. If y'all ain't hit the like button since you've been in here, please
yeah,
help us
like
out.
and
I see 9 of y'all.
subscribe, man, share, like, do whatever you
Yeah,
can
man.
for us.
Yeah, we're having
Um
fun here. Keep coming back.
TB17, how many points do the Bears have to score consistently to win games with the defense they have? I
We'll,
want to know what your answer to that is because
we'll
I
wait
don't
for
think
your answer.
I think it's a lower number than people would probably project. I think the Bears are going to consistently hold opponents to under 20 points. I do believe that.
Right now, they're at 19 points allowed per game, and like I said, the Rams are averaging 19 points per game. So in this matchup, he says 21. If the defense holds them to
That's
21,
what you said to me, Dustin.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I said.
So you don't think that this Bears offense with Keenan Allen, with Roma Dunze, with DJ Moore, with Cole Kmet, you don't think they're going to score because that's 3 touchdowns a game. How many touchdowns do you think projects between Roma Dunze, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift? Like how many
I'm talking
touchdowns?
about Braxton Jones, Darnell Wright, Tevin Jenkins, Coleman Shelton, and Pryor or Davis. That's what matters to me when you're having that conversation, Brandon. And I've said this, it does not matter how pretty your weapons are on the outside. If you don't got your big uglies that are going to win in the trenches,
Yeah,
it doesn't fucking matter, bro.
but
You can't
Justin,
have time to get them the ball.
when you're facing a team with a win rate of 32%, it does matter. This Colts defensive front is not good. It's not.
Okay, so but
I mean the Rams.
are you
Sorry.
talking big picture or are you talking just for this game? Because you just said how many points per game do
Well,
they have to average?
I'm definitely talking both. Like
Yeah,
I think, man. So you think the Caleb Williams? There's no way, man. This guy throws 25 plus touchdowns and 4,000 yards if they ain't averaging 21 points a game.
bro, they're
That's not your
averaging
prediction.
17.7. My prediction could be wrong. I listen. What I've seen so far does not inspire me. They're averaging 17.7 points per game, Brandon. That's total points per game. They're
Justin,
and
okay, so I'm
hopefully
going to ask you this.
they
I
start
asked you
to
this.
come together.
So I asked this on the show last week. You were the only person I didn't get an answer from. At what point? How many weeks do you think it takes for this offense to
No,
just
I did
get
give
right?
you an answer. I said after the bye. That's where I
Oh,
expected
you
it.
did.
After
You
the
did.
bye.
Okay.
Yes.
So you think this week they don't nothing from the way they finished last week carries over to this week.
I think it's very possible in this game.
I think they found some things that worked. That's why I think they definitely identified some strengths. I think Roma Dunze is probably a better player than I even projected
I
him to
can
be.
say this unequivocally, Brandon. If they drop their rookie quarterback back again 60 times, they're not going to win the game.
I don't
I can
think that's
say
gonna
that
happen. I don't think that's gonna
unequivocally.
happen again, man.
We didn't think they were going to drop him back 45 times after that Texans game, and then they went out and they said, I'll show you one better. So that's my concern. That's my concern.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I like I said, man. You know me. I'm the guy who's usually
So
not.
TB17 just said this, man. It literally happened last week, right? He put up 300. If he put up 360 yards a game, he's gonna get to that 4,000 yard mark easy, and 2 touchdowns. But we only scored 16 points because we
Well,
turned
and
the
he
ball
really,
over 3
but
times.
Dustin, he didn't play very good in the first 3 quarters of that game. He didn't. He played really well in the last 17 minutes of the football game. Now that's where I think Caleb picks up.
Okay, but he
Where
had
he
200
left,
yards in the first half. So
where he left off is where he's going to pick up. That's what I believe. That's
for sure,
my view on it.
those. But again, if you're not protecting your quarterback, if you're not establishing a run game, Brandon, you're not going to win. You're just not.
We talked about I don't know how many times I got to say this about the run game, man. I think they're going to approach that in a different way. I think
I
they're going to.
understand, but it doesn't change the fact that that's not a winning form.
So let me ask you this, man, because
It's not.
I've now voiced myself. You don't think that the Bears' identities should have anything to do with Roma Dunze, DJ Moore, and Keenan Allen, and you don't think that the run game would benefit if that's the identity they decide that's the way they want to present themselves
Well, I
from the
did
snap
respond to you when you
from
said that, Brandon. I
from
did.
the first snap of the game. Like if I'm talking like from play one, it is We're going to throw the ball all over you because we got three guys that you just can't defend. Do you think that'll benefit the run game?
Oh, here I'll answer your
Caleb
question.
hasn't thrown the ball on anybody.
I'll answer your question with another question, because have you not said that Poles said that he was going to build this team from the inside out, and he
Yeah,
hasn't
no,
done
he
that?
deceived us all. Yeah.
And is that a recipe for winning football, to build it from the outside in?
Well, I think it depends, man. So if you build your team from the outside in, because if you don't build your team from the inside out, you build from the outside in. What should your identity probably be?
Yeah, no, for sure. That I'm not debating that. And when you mentioned this already, I said, like, yeah, I can see what you're saying. That's the way that this team's been set up. It doesn't mean that it's set up for success, though.
So
Those
you
two
don't
things
think
don't
that
equate.
there's a team in the NFL that chooses pass first to establish their run that succeeds in the NFL?
That team has not existed yet that I've seen. No, the Kansas
So,
City Chiefs are last year won a Super Bowl running the football. They
so like,
traded
what would you
away.
call? So you thought Joe Burrow's Super Bowl team was like a run first?
They had Joe Mixon, who had a great year that year, man. They couldn't protect the quarterback that whole
But
season.
but I
So I
think
mean, like,
I mean, I owned T. Higgins and Jamar Chase that year in fantasy, and that won me a championship. Like they threw the ball. That they established that over first and foremost over anything. We can throw the ball wherever we want, whenever we want, all the time. And defenses got scared of that. And
the
Joe
team that I
Mixon,
look to, for like a template for success is like the 49ers, man. Like they have this power run game that's
right?
creative,
But
right?
Dustin, what I'm saying to you is, I understand that is the ideal team wants
And
to be
everything is
balanced.
built off of
They,
that.
the ideal team wants to be balanced, but they more importantly, like you said, they want to prevent mistakes by running the ball because that prevents mistakes. Quarterback can't throw interceptions when you run the ball. But if you don't have the personnel to be that team, there are teams that succeed in passing the ball to establish the run. There are teams that approach that way. I do believe that. I think that that's been a thing in the NFL before.
Well, and you think the Bears are going to be successful this year with that identity?
Yes, because I think Caleb Williams is the best player on the football team.
And you got to exploit that, and you got to accentuate his strengths, and you got to design a game plan that will enable him to to take advantage of the weapons on the outside. I agree with you. I just don't see it. I don't see it being successful based on just the way I've seen football be played my whole life. I don't see it being successful for a season. I
Well, it
just
just
don't.
depends upon it depends upon your personnel, man. When Kirk Cousins played the half a season they did on that Vikings team and they no longer had Dalvin Cook, their run game was egregiously bad, but they were going to be a playoff team if Kirk Cousins didn't get hurt. They were winning. They were 4-2. They were winning football games, and they were doing it by establishing the fact that they had Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and T.J. Hawkinson. They can throw the damn ball. That's they looked at their strength on offense and thought, we're going to make sure teams are concerned about playing coverage. Like that's, I think the dynamic.
TD17 says the passing era is dead. I mean, you see teams really trying to establish the run to get their success for sure. And I mean, teams have spread out so much over the last, decade that the advantage now might be found on the inside, and I think that's what it's always come down to in football from the dawn of football is if you can establish your attitude and your mentality, and impose that over the other team, that's your biggest advantage, and that happens in the run game for sure. I mean,
Yeah, but do
it
you
does.
think? Okay, so let me ask you this. I owned Tony Pollard last year in fantasy. The Cowboys were a playoff team. They didn't run the ball well. They didn't run the ball almost at all, and they went to the playoffs because their strengths were Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. That was the strength of that team.
They went to the playoffs and got their asses beat by the Packers,
Right,
man,
but
at
they did.
home.
But what's the expectation for the Bears this year to go to the Super Bowl?
I mean, I think we got to get to a point as Bears fans where we do expect that. I'm not expecting it this year, but
Well, it's
I
not. It's
think,
not. It's not happening this
but
year.
that is the expectation for the Cowboys. and their lack of a run game, it betrayed them in a big game. They couldn't control the clock in that game. They couldn't control anything about that game, and they got behind so quick they had to throw the ball to try to get back in it, and then that just led to Dak Prescott throwing interceptions. it 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 begets more bad things, man. Like you said, you take more opportunities to give the team the other ball the more you drop back, and I
But
just
there are
don't want to
players
hear.
in this league that aren't going to turn the ball over. There are, man. Like when you face a Patrick Mahomes, you don't expect an interception. You're not anticipating that to be a game factor. When you play guys like those, when you play elite quarterbacks, that's not something you should bank on. Like if we forced Patrick Mahomes or Joe
But
Burrow
it's
to
something we
throw,
should bank on with our rookie
if
quarterback,
we
man.
if
You're not
we
talking
if
about
we
Patrick Mahomes, though.
if we force any quarterback to throw 32 times, but he's a really good fucking player, we're probably screwing ourselves.
No, for sure. I mean, if you're playing Patrick Mahomes, you're probably happy when they run the ball, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
for
right.
sure.
I believe
But Caleb Williams is not that guy this year. So, like, are we talking about trying to win games or develop our quarterback?
wait, let me ask you this though. Why do you think Caleb Williams isn't that guy?
Because he's a rookie. Because he's about to play his 4th NFL game, man. He's not
So do you,
Patrick Mahomes. That's not an
well,
overstatement.
Patrick Mahomes threw 5,000 yards in the first year he ever started.
Yeah, but he wasn't a rookie either.
No, he wasn't. He sat on the bench behind Alex Smith. I don't know if
Yeah.
that. I don't know how much that. I don't think that had anything to do with Patrick Mahomes' success, man. I think he was in Andy Reid's system. He was in a good system.
So that's the other thing. Is this Bears system
You
conducive
sold
to?
me on Waldron, so we'll find out.
Well, Waldron is making me want a refund, bro. Right now, the way that he's calling these games. I mean, the passing. The one thing I will say is that the passing route concepts have looked interesting. They have looked good. You see plays where receivers are open and Caleb is missing them, or they might have a miscommunication where that receiver goes one way and the pass goes the other way. And I think if they start getting those things synced up, then that passing game can become definitely more deadly. But I still see no matter how you try to spin it, bro, if their identity is going to be a passing identity with a rookie quarterback and no run game, you're going to see a lot of
Yeah,
turnovers.
but I know, but you keep saying that, man. This is where we're splitting hairs. You keep saying like if their identity is to be a passing game with no run game, I think they're going to learn and under. I think Waldron is already. I said this in the text I sent you guys. I think he's already ahead of us. I think his expectation is once the pass game works like it did in the fourth quarter of that game last week. Once that works, and unfortunately you were out of time, you couldn't run the ball. But once that works the way it did last week in the fourth quarter, you will be able to run the ball.
I just think you're playing with fire if that's your plan. Now it might have to be this Bears. I'm not going to argue that it might have
I
to be
think you're
this
playing
Bears
with
game
fire.
plan, Bears
I think you're
offensive
playing
game
with
plan.
fire if you think, well, and they have a multitude of players in their backfield, but I think you're playing with fire if you think DeAndre Swift is what's going to develop the passing game.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. All I'm saying is that you're going to turn the ball over, and that's going to put you in positions where
They probably are
you're more
going to
likely
turn
to
the.
lose the game.
They're
You're
going to
more
turn the
likely
ball
to
over
lose
more.
the game, Brandon. That's all. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't want to beat this to death, man. I feel like we have a very different view of what the Bears should do in regards to the personnel they have.
No, what you're not understanding is I'm agreeing with you that their personnel does say that that's probably what they
But it's
should
not a
do
recipe for success.
to win football games.
But
Yes.
I think that's kind of what they anticipated it to be. So we'll see, man. We'll see. We'll see if Ryan Poles put an offense in place that. Listen, man. A few years ago, this is the way the NFL wanted to work. It was modern. Like everybody wanted to pass the ball to establish the run. This was a
A couple of
thing.
years ago, the Bears averaged 150 passing yards per game with Justin Fields, and it was the lowest since like the 1950s. So I
Yeah,
want to see a passing offense as a
yeah. And the
Bears,
Bear, I was just going to
no
say
doubt.
because that Bears team was all about establishing the run, and that didn't do much for Justin Fields.
TB17 says same O-line could run the ball to set up the pass game last year. Waldron and Caleb are the problem. And yeah, that is very strange. And people have said that. And
Yeah,
what
but
hasn't
yeah,
really
but yeah, but dude, you can't. I
you,
keep
you're
hearing
going to talk
stuff.
about the Justin Fields thing, but
Yeah,
here,
you have to.
okay, but what we also have to discuss with that is I wouldn't have been afraid of Justin Fields passing the ball last year if I'm a defensive coordinator. I'm keying on the run. So
Yeah,
how is it that they were
yeah,
able
but
to run the ball better?
keying on a quarterback running the ball it's a very difficult thing to do, man.
And Justin Fields is very fast, and yeah, he's a tough guy to contain for sure. It just begs the question for sure, because I can understand where he's coming from. Not that I necessarily agree, but I can understand where he's coming from because defenses knew what we were going to do, what we had to do to be successful, and
Let me
weren't able to stop it anywhere near as much as they have this year when
let me
we
say
have
this.
this passing game.
We're talking about the Bears defense needing to stop the run. So let me say this. Like my two biggest concerns on our schedule coming up are Kyler Murray and Jaden Daniels. I'm so much more worried about that than Jacoby Brissett and Matt Stafford. I couldn't even, and Trevor Lawrence. I couldn't even tell you in words, man. I think Kyler Murray and Jaden Daniels are the worst thing on the Bears schedule
Okay.
in the next 5 games for sure. I think
Yeah, and I
Staff,
mean
I think
Washington looked
Stafford,
good
I
on
think
Monday.
Stafford, Dalton, and Lawrence are a win for the Bears. I think those other two guys scare me for
Well,
sure.
Kyron Williams was your player to watch for the Bears, and I told he's a guy I had written down as well. Matthew Stafford is the other one. I mean, Matthew Stafford is a veteran quarterback who knows how to control a defense with his eyes, knows where to put the ball, can make every pass, and like he's just a guy that's going to compete. And I don't want to see it be a shootout between Stafford and Caleb because I see the Rams winning that kind of game if it's a
Listen,
shootout between.
I'm gonna say this, man. I've been watching this Bears team since Matty Rufus took over, and I don't love the way they're coached. I don't love the game management. The one thing that I do love, man, is whoever's scouting their DBs and the way that Flus uses them. I don't care how good Stafford is. The product that they're putting on the field at the wide receiver position is
Is
no threat to
bad.
me whatsoever. Like
And the Bears are allowing, like we said earlier, 165 passing yards per game.
as good as Stafford is, without Cooper Nakua, this
Let
is
me
a
throw
very
in they haven't played a quarterback of Matt Stafford's caliber. I mean, CJ Stroud is really good,
he's
but the other
better
two
than Stafford today.
the other two I don't know right now. I don't know right
Today,
now if I would say he's better than Stafford, but it's close. It's close for sure. But you're talking about Will Levis, who is maybe the worst quarterback in the NFL, and Anthony Richardson, who's right behind him. So 2 out of 3 quarterbacks they've played are not very good. That's they're not on the
no,
Matthew
but
Stafford
no,
level
but
by any means.
no, but the quarterback they played in Stroud had 3 frightening receivers to throw to, and Matt Stafford's throwing to backup receivers. If you
That
compare Nico Collins
and
and
he had his
Stephon
offensive
Diggs,
line in front of him too, a healthy offensive line in front of him.
if you
That's a big
compare
deal.
just those 3 receivers, like when I'm talking about the defensive backs, I'm saying, man, like I'm not. When I talk about Jalen Johnson and Tyreek Stevenson, I'm not talking about Stafford versus those two. I'm talking about who the hell they're covering. And that affects the game Stafford's going to have, like undoubtedly, because you're not going to throw Jalen's way when he's covering Robinson or if is that his name? I don't even know.
So Marcus Robinson and Whittington. Whittington is the rookie they drafted, who I actually really kind of like and could see him being a sneaky guy to make an impact in this game on Sunday, to be honest. On defense for the Rams, I really like Cameron Curl, their safety they got from Washington, and Cam Kitchens is a rookie who's been thrown into it because John Johnson is out, right? So those are 2 guys to watch for me in terms of on that back end of that defense. I like the Cams. I like both of their games, and they could make it a little tough on Caleb come Sunday. So I guess we've talked this to death. One thing that I did mention that the Rams have allowed 54% completion percentage on third down across their first 3 games. The Bears are averaging 33%. So just to lay this out before we do our predictions, you're talking about a Rams defense that is weak in these areas. They're the same areas that this Bears offense has been weak. If the Bears are going to establish that identity you're talking about, Brandon, They got to do it this week. They got to say, well, you're bad at this, and we're going to fucking beat you there. Because last week it was the Colts were bad at this, and well, the Bears are going to be the same. We're still going to average 70 rushing yards a game. So,
and the Colts did have player in their secondary that were able to. I mean, I thought DJ Moore was pretty well covered through that game, man, and Rome Odunze really exploited whoever he was across from because of that. But now you have Keenan
which
Allen.
I called out. I said that would happen. You called the Caleb big game. I called the Rome big game based on the matchup. So those
Yeah,
were
we
things
did.
that went well. Yeah.
Now you have Keenan against this Rams secondary.
That's depleted by injury. Yeah.
I'm just
The Bears, all I'm saying is if we come back on Monday, man, and the things that this Rams defense does poorly, the Bears don't take advantage of and get their offense right, how much farther are we going to go down that hole? Like, how many weeks in a row are we going to do that where this team clearly has deficiencies on their defense where you can exploit them with the run game or where you can exploit them with your third down conversion rate, and you don't, and you still put up 33% completion percentage on third down, and you still put up 75 rushing yards when they're allowing 177. Now we got to start really asking the question, is this coaching staff preparing this team to win football games, throughout the week?
I think that's yet to be seen, man. I don't want to answer that question after 3 weeks. I think up to this point, have they? No. I think it's a very new team
I'm
for
not
everybody.
asking you the question right now. I'm just setting the
Yeah.
frame, the groundwork for the fact that that question could become much more prevalent very soon. I'm already asking it myself. I've already asked it publicly, and I don't have a good feeling. I've said that, but now you do this another week, or maybe we get to that point where other people start asking that question too, because it's not looking good, man. So with all that being
Or
said,
maybe you come out and well, yeah, we'll talk about our game predictions.
yeah, if you come out and exploit those things that this defense is bad at, then now I got a hold. Now I believe a little bit in what this coaching staff is preparing this team to do.
Well, and
And
more importantly, man, if you come out early in this game and you make Caleb, you get a couple completions, right? Some out routes, some flats, some curls, something easy. You know what I mean? Where DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Roman are all capable of beating one of these corners on LA. If you come out and do that, I think if he hits the comfort level he felt in the fourth quarter of that game last week, if you start that off, if you establish that comfort, because it wasn't the run game last week that made him comfortable over the last 17 minutes of the game. They just continued to
it was
to
the necessity to have to throw it and
and they
run
and they
run the
and
offense quickly.
Waldron called the play well. He did. Like he made it simple, and it even made Caleb comfortable enough to take the deep shot when he thought it was
And
warranted.
and it was Gus Bradley having that defense just sit back in the zone and try to secure the game that way. They weren't blitzing, they were rushing for, they were just sitting back in the zone, and the Bears were able to exploit that. Like, is that going to be the case this week? That's something to think about too, Brandon. When you talk about like that effectiveness at the end of that game, the Colts had a lead and they have a defensive coordinator who is a zone coverage defensive coordinator. I mean, just shit, as a Bears fan, you remember Lovie Smith just doing the prevent defense anytime his team got a lead, and the quarterback slicing and dicing through that. Games always got close when we did that. And Gus Bradley's the same type of guy, man. So that impacted that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see what we got this Sunday, man. I'm looking forward to seeing a good game, and I hope the Bears. So what are you seeing happening in this game on Sunday, Brandon?
I think with Keenan Allen back, if he is, I think the three receivers are just too much for these Rams corners, man. I do. Um, I think if Keenan Allen's missing, maybe it's a different story because you're just talking about a rookie and more. But like this is just too much, man. For a secondary that's had trouble covering. I mean, the Rams played the Niners last week, and the Niners were down Debo Samuel and George Kittle, and Jawan Jennings went off for 10 catches, 175
Three
yards.
touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, like this guy exploded. So I think the Bears wide receiver core really takes advantage of this secondary, I think, early and often. And I'm going to flip the ball the other side, man. And I think the Bears DBs just completely erase these receivers who aren't projected to start on any team unless of injury. So I'm going to say the Bears win this game. And people are going to be astonished by this. I'm going to say the Bears win this game 28-16.
28-16, Bears win at home over the Rams. That's Brandon's pick. Now, last week, I was hopeful, Dustin. I was in here. I picked the Bears to win, I believe, 27-21 over the Colts. And we were looking at a points per game average of 19 for both teams. And this week, I'll call myself realistic, Dustin, but maybe it's pessimistic because I didn't see anything to write home about with this Bears team, man. I didn't see anything that inspired confidence in me that they're going to play a better game this Sunday. I hope I'm wrong. The way they're going to do it is if they get after Matt Stafford and get pressure on him, if they take advantage of that porous offensive line that's allowed 10 sacks so far, and if they establish a run game against a team that's allowing 177 yards per game, this is clearly how they're going to do it, guys. If they can run the ball for over 100 yards and they can get at least 3 sacks on Matt Stafford and they can contain Kyren Williams, they'll win this game. I don't have faith in them to be able to do that. I'm not going to pick a high-scoring game. The Bears are averaging 17.7 points per game. The Rams are averaging 19. Now, the Rams are allowing 30. The Bears are allowing 19. I can see this being like a 21-17 game, even like 20-16, somewhere in there. And I don't see the Bears winning this game. I can't pick them to win this game. I just can't, not after what I saw. If you talk about coaching having an impact on the game, we mentioned Mike Tomlin earlier. We're talking about one of the best coaches in the NFL, and Sean McVay coming into Chicago to coach against what I think it might be the worst coach in the NFL, in Matt Eberflus right now. And I can't pick Matt Eberflus to win that matchup. I just can't. So let's say the Rams 20, Bears 16 in a low-scoring game where both offenses kind of continue to struggle a little bit, and whoever makes the least mistakes is going to win this game. And I don't trust the Bears to not make some mistakes.
So you think this is the defense that stops?
Oh, wow. TD17 just put this on here. Rams 20, Bears 16. Bears 4.
This is the defense that
What's up?
You think this is the Rams defense is the defense that regresses their offensive growth week by week?
I'm so confused by how you're wording that question. What are you saying?
Well, the Bears have gone from 10 points on offense to 13-16.
Okay.
Oh, I'm saying, so you think this is the defense, this Rams defense is the defense that halts that growth?
No, I think this Bears offense halts that growth. I just think if you're going into a game and you're going to drop your quarterback that much, they're going to make mistakes, your rookie quarterback, and those mistakes are going to lead to game-losing plays, man. And now, if they come out and establish the run, then and they get after the quarterback, then I got a whole different perspective of this game. I just haven't seen anything that shows that that's going to be the case, man. This offensive line can be exploited. This run defense can be exploited. The Bears should know that, and that's what they should focus on going into this game. Now, I do think that their identity is going to be what you're saying, and that's going to be good for Caleb's development and for his reps, and that's going to be good. It's going to be fun to watch in some areas by the time the season's over. I don't think, week 4, it's going to be very explosive. I hope I'm wrong, Brandon. I really do. I hope you're right and I'm wrong. That's my hope for this game on Sunday, because I'm going to be watching and I'll be jumping off my couch and neighbors are going to hear me. And I'm in it. I'm in it to win it. I hope they win it. I just can't pick them after what I saw on Sunday against the Colts, man. Hold on.
We give the takes based on what we see, man. We're not biased, and I'm not being biased, guys. When I just love this matchup for the Bears at home.
I still think it's crazy. Me and TB17 said the same score at the same time. That was crazy. But here, what you were saying about the Rams, man, they allowed those 3 touchdowns to Jawan Jennings. Yeah. And they won the game against the 49ers on a walk-off field goal. So like you could see a DJ Moore going off or a Keenan Allen going off, and the Rams could still win this game because coaching decisions throughout this game are going to be huge. And right now, I feel like
mean,
Flus is on tilt, man.
if I'm projecting 300-yard game, it's going to require more than one person go off. I mean, like last week, Cole Kmet had 10 for 100 and a touchdown. Rome had 7 for 150 in it, or 120 and a touchdown, and I think Moore had 8 for 80. So like
Okay.
for this offense to beat people the way that I'm projecting their identity will kind of lean towards multiple people in the passing game are going to benefit. Like it's going to.
Like I said, if there's a team to do it against, what you're calling for, Brandon, it's this Rams team, and it's at home in Chicago. The Bears could get right. What I got 5K on Bears 8.5 plus wins. I hope I'm wrong. I drank the Kool-Aid in August. That's a big wager, TB17, man. We're pulling for you, bro. We're pulling for you.
Of course we are, because we're Bears fans.
Bro, I thought that 8.5 was a lock when I saw that number. But when you see the way this Bears team has performed, there's a lot to question right now. Like I said, Brandon, if there's a game for this to happen, what you're talking about, it's this game. So let's hope that that's what happens, man. Let's root for our Bears. Let's see what they put out there for us. I don't really know what else to say about this, man. We've talked this shit to death.
Yeah, I like this, man. It's just we're just some general Bears chat, man. Like just not toning in on too like the bets and the spreads and the numbers and the stats. Like I just want to what I see. Your eye test when you're watching your own team is super super valuable, man. Like.
Well, we did go over some numbers here, and these numbers point to a low-scoring game based on what I'm seeing. I hope the Bears can pull it out, man.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it's gonna have to be mistake free, man. I mean, I don't mean like Caleb throwing a pick that can happen. I mean like just the bad time management, the timeouts, like just the stuff that these guys know they should be able to do better. Man.
Well, this is a big game for Flus. Big prove it game for this Bears team. Going to 1-3 is going to be a huge problem for TB17 and his 5K bet. So let's go. Let's get to 2-2 this week. I hope I'm wrong. Anything to add before we get out of here, Brando?
No, man. I enjoyed it as always. Appreciate you hanging out.
Staying up late and bearing down.
We did. I think we did have 7. I think we did have 7 people watching at one point. I want to say that
it was 9, Brandon. Don't sell yourself short.
All right.
It was 9.
Guys, just want to say you shout out to River Street and Ideal Amusements, I think it's called. Sorry, guys, my that's her.
That's great.
And then you can find me and Dustin as well on the Monday night Chicago Sports Podcast show that's on 9 p.m. Central.
And you can find us on 4 Stars Hangover. That's 6 p.m. Central.
I think you already mentioned. Yeah, for sure, guys.
Mention it again. It's worth mentioning.
6 o'clock, guys. 4 Star Chicago Sports. Show. Myself, Dustin, and the other 2 stars, or lack thereof. I'm just kidding, guys. Love you, Sean. Love you, guys. You're throwing shots. Yeah, that was a joke. But come check us out, guys. So far, I think we've had some quality feedback for the content we're putting out there on that Monday show. So, man, definitely come check us out.
Keep the feedback coming. Thanks to everybody in the chat. We had Judah Tribe today, TB17. Ant Mash jumped in for a little bit. I saw that. We have Bruce. I mean, Michael, thanks, man, for joining us, staying up late with us. We really appreciate all your support, all your input.
Thank you, TB.
TB17, hit the like button. Have a good night. Peace. All right.
Thanks, man. Thanks for hanging out.
That's a good way to go out, man, with a like. Hey, bear down. We'll be talking throughout the week. Have a good night, man. Good to talk with you.
Yeah, you too, man. Have a good night, guys.
4 Star Chicago Sports. Bang.